New Zealand Rugby have narrowed down their selection criteria for the next All Blacks coach, but it hasn't really ruled anybody out who were the linked candidates, unless you were one of the people who thought maybe Ronan O'Gara, who gets linked with every international job these days, because they've said you've got to be a Kiwi and you have to have international coaching experience, which is pretty much everybody who was already linked with the job. I don't think it really rules anyone out, but here are the main candidates. You guys can let me know your thoughts on whether or not you think any of these guys are more likely than others. The obvious front runner is still Jamie Joseph, currently coaching the Highlanders, so negotiating his exit if he's to get the job would be pretty straightforward because that's an internal New Zealand matter. He's coached Japan at a couple of Rugby World Cup cycles, more successfully in 2019 than in the following one, you'd have to say. There was a little bit of criticism of him kind of failing to develop the next generation of Japanese talent and just kind of relying on imported players. But yeah, he's won Super Rugby with the Highlanders, took a bit of a band of misfits or cast-offs from other Super Rugby teams and gelled them in to a winning team with a winning culture, which is, testament to the guy. He's always worked well with Tony Brown, but according to all reports, Tony Brown would not be available for him. But so to be Jamie without Tony, which might be, I don't know, lacking a little bit of that kind of cutting edge. Some coaching pairs do seem to work together like that. I would, though, caution a little bit with Jamie Joseph in that if there are the kind of big ego factors at play with the All Blacks, if it is indeed the kind of player power that helped see Razor show in the door. He did once have a Highlanders team which had a bunch of kind of big, like Tony Woodcock signed for them, Martin Ono signed for them, and they didn't do particularly well. He did better with as I said, maybe the players who would buy in a bit better, maybe a few of the lesser kind of ego players. But we'll see. He's certainly the front runner. He's in New Zealand. He's with the All Blacks 15 as well, so he'll be familiar with a lot of these guys from his time with the Highlanders, with the All Blacks 15 and whatnot. So still for mine, massively the front runner. He's a Kiwi, check. He's got international experience, check. Joe Schmidt, by all reports, is kind of ruling himself out. For me, he always seems like a long shot. I don't know that New Zealand Rugby would actively pursue him because it's a weird situation with Joe Schmidt in that he continually keeps saying he wants to be back in New Zealand spending more time with his family, and every time he seems to say that publicly, he gets offered a job somewhere. He left Ireland and then got recruited by the Blues, then got recruited by the All Blacks, and then got recruited by the Wallabies. So every time he seems to get out, they keep pulling him back in. So it would be a hell of a job for him to be getting away from rugby and spending time with his family and then end up as All Blacks coach. And he is still contracted to Rugby Australia to the end of the Super Rugby season, which would make any preparation for upcoming All Blacks matches, after Super Rugby pretty difficult. And there may or may not be clauses in his contract that say he can't go to a rival, but who knows? Joe Schmidt, as I said, not first-hand, but second-hand reports are saying he's already ruled himself out. For me, he would seem like a long shot for the head coaching role, but I wasn't sure he would get the Wallabies one. I thought Larkham might get the Wallabies one back in the day when he got that job. So who knows? Every time he steps away, as I said, he keeps getting drawn in. But I think if he's going to be in the mix, it'd be more back in that kind of backroom assistant, brains trust kind of role. I think would suit him better time-wise and family-wise than being head coach. Dave Rennie, over in Japan, he's off contract, I think, at the end of the Japanese season. So maybe a little bit more appealing contract-wise than some of the other candidates, but not quite as easy to get as the New Zealand-based guys. Obviously has coached the Wallabies, so has the checkbox for international coaching experience. Joe's coached two bloody teams, Ireland and Australia, be a third string to the bow if he got the All Blacks. But yeah, Dave Rennie coached the Wallabies, was, I guess, kind of unceremoniously dumped out of his role in favour of Eddie Jones, which is, I think, a decision which Aussie Rugby lived to regret. And he's certainly done good things here in New Zealand Rugby. He's been away for the game for a while. He might bring a fresh pair of eyes, but I do think he is a distant second favourite to to Jamie Joseph at the moment. And then Vern Cotter, who is currently with my Blues, has coached Scotland before. He's one that I think left Scotland on a bit of a high. Like, I think a lot of Scots would have liked to see him remain on one more Rugby World Cup cycle, but Scottish Rugby went with Gregor Townsend. He won Super Rugby with the Blues on his return. Last year was a bit of a stinker. Last year didn't live up to the expectations. The Blues kind of flopped a little bit in 2025. But the fact that he is in New Zealand and he has got that coaching experience, he would be mad not to throw his hat in the ring if he is keen on the role. So potentially actually the second favourite, although he's not getting talked about that much. Maybe it's because when the Blues won their Super Rugby title, they weren't playing as sexy rugby. Maybe it's because this coaching time with the Scots is a bit longer ago. I'm not sure. The other kind of left-wing candidates, Warren Gatland's got international coaching experience, but I think I'll eat my hat if that happens. Bring back Fozzie and Steve Hansen. I can't imagine they'd want to step back into the ring after that, but probably Jamie Joseph. But they've narrowed it down ever so slightly. You guys let me know your thoughts on who you reckon the best fit would be of any of these guys, or is there a possible other New Zealand candidate who's got international coaching experience who I'm overlooking? You guys take care of yourselves. We await the appointment. Good luck, New Zealand Rugby. Fingers crossed you make a good call this time. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Ciao.